TheGraphicsPro.com.
I'm Reagan Dickinson with Graphics Pro.
This is Charlie Calvey. You're listening to Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, regular guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Prepare for the wow.
It is Friday, January 9th, 2026. Hard to believe. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Great to see you in this new year of 2026. My name is Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group and American Print and Supply. And this week, Terry, another annual show that we love doing. And this is our 10 things we'd like to see in the coming years. You know, in the past, I always like, oh, the crystal ball, but I didn't play on that this year. But it's the same concept, right? Like, let's just talk about what we want out of the industry. And Terry, I think it's really important today, and we'll talk about it more as we get there. But yeah, if you're live in here, like Doug saying hello, we want to hear from you guys here today for sure.
Yeah.
So,
what would you like to hear? And we're going to share those towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, Eric's going to be joining us as well with his thoughts on 10 things that he'd like to see as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Plus, we need to stick around for him, correct?
We do. Eric's going to be doing the secret sauce today. He's going to share his tips on how digitizers can expand their eye for embroidery to create more interesting texture and texture with thread. So that'll be something also that you guys could see in the new year.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to hearing that from Erich here and the secret sauce. But even though it's a new year, we're still plugging along, doing some awesome things, and have some awesome people that are taking time out of their day to be part of our show. And one of our good friends here, Teresa Hagel with ASI, is going to be on with us here shortly to share the news, Terry. So excited to get right back on the horse here. Feels like, with our time off, right? Like, do we know what we're doing? But I think we got
exactly. And there's a lot of news today.
So. Yeah, absolutely. So let's hear the news.
Hi, everyone. It's Teresa Hagel with ASI. It's been a very busy week for news with ASI's show in Orlando this week. Plus tons and tons of mergers and acquisitions, hirings, promotions, you name it. But I wanted to start out with news from Orlando on our keynote speech. Melissa Proctor delivered an inspiring keynote. The chief marketing officer of the Atlanta Hawks shared the story of starting her career as the Miami Heat's first ball girl and making bold moves to reinvigorate a struggling brand. So Melissa Proctor is now the chief marketing officer of the Atlanta Hawks. And in order to rebuild the Atlanta Hawks brand, she focused on addressing fan disengagement through market research and brand strategy, using the True to Atlanta as a guiding theme. Under her leadership, the Hawks have implemented new branding, marketing, and fan experiences that have helped boost the brand. I was not in Orlando, but I hear that it was a great keynote, and we have a wonderful write of it on our website, so I would definitely check that out. Next up, Storm Creek hires new president and appoints a director of sales. So Storm Creek Apparel has named John West as president, with the company founder Doug Jackson moving into the role of chief revenue officer. Industry veteran Tom Clauser is promoted to director of sales. So John West is now president. He is somebody that has like a lot of sales experience. Doug Jackson, the founder, has moved into chief revenue officer role, and he and the CEO, Teresa Freudenberg, will continue to lead the company's vision at Storm Creek. And then finally, NC Custom acquires Confection 360. Confection 360's high-speed, high-definition etching technology for imprinting chocolate was a major factor in the acquisition. So now NC Custom, a Counselor Top 40 supplier, will be able to add that chocolate etching capability to expand their manufacturing capacity and speed to market. It enables NC Custom to offer faster turnaround and flexible order sizes as part of their print-on-demand food portfolio. All right, thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Teresa. And lots of news, interesting stuff. And make sure you guys go check out what they've got going on over there at asicentral.com. Eric got the links in the chat, and we will have those links in our show notes as well. So worth catching up and reading and learning a little bit more. Oh, Terry, I think this is...
There's a trade show already? Yeah, I muted myself before. I had a little cough.
I missed the opportunity to overdub you, but yes. What were you saying there, Terry?
I was just saying, hey, there's a trade show already.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely coming up quick
with 2 feet here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Terry. Well, let's see here. Where are we at? I guess. Well, you know what? I almost missed it. I almost missed one of the most important things that we do on this show here. And what would that be, Terry?
Oh, that would be the dad joke, and Cassie's already tuned in to hear it, so
she's ready. All right. Well, I'm ready too. Let's hear it.
You know, Aaron, I was going to quit all my bad habits for the new year.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, then I remembered that nobody likes a quitter, so
that's right. That's good. That's good. I don't know what it is about that dad joke that makes me think about. There's a story I tell in a lot of my goal setting workshops about the power or lack thereof of actual willpower. And there's a thing out there called Quitter's Day. So anyhow, just for whatever reason.
Or is that the day that everybody quits going to the gym for their for the new
pretty
year?
Much, yeah. So yes, I think, and that day is like the 14th. So it's basically sometime next week. So if you're a regular gym goer, it's probably been not so great at your gym over the last week or so. Just hang on one more week and everybody will be gone. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I still need to set my resolutions. I'm figuring about February 1st. First one's going to be something about procrastination, I feel like.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Before we dive in, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have the regulators participate in the show intros. Go to osg.link/intro, read a few sentences, be a part of every show. We are always looking for new guests. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or you can email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you're listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments, your questions. At the end, we want to share what the regulators are hoping to see this year as well. So drop those into the comments, and we can share at the end of the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll tag those and star those and talk about it where it's appropriate there. But before we dive into this, Terry, let's bring in our good friend Eric Campbell, and we're going to make him push the buttons and be on screen today. So
I'll try.
We figured new year, let's make him work harder than he already does, right? No,
exactly right. Exactly.
We shall see. Tell everybody nobody needs to know a little bit about me anymore. Yeah. I think we know as much as we need to know about me. But I'll say this much: happy to be the voice of embroidery, as I often am called on to be. But happy enough to bring that into the conversation, and glad to see you guys this year.
Glad to see you. Happy New Year! All right, guys. Well, this is kind of the way this show works and has worked over the last 13 years. Is it's kind of a two-part, obviously, except for the first year because we didn't have anything to go back on. But it's two-part. We want to kind of take a real quick glance back at the fact that what we said last year and see, where did that go? Where did it get there? Is there still more work to do? Did it go somewhere else that we didn't think about? Right. So that's one part. And then the second part is obviously the 10 things we would like to see this year throughout the course of 2026 here. Now, I share that as a reminder for myself and maybe Terry and Eric that this is two parts. We have to get to the second part. So, commentary brief in the first part.
All right.
Shall we dive in?
Yes. Last year, my first one was I'd like to see kind of like, I was really specifically said Printing United Alliance should do a fill in the blank high school and college internship program. So regulators tell us, what are you seeing? I'm not sure if that something like that has happened or is in the works, but that was my first suggestion last year.
Yeah. Yeah. For me personally, I have not seen anything like that specifically. You kind of get the sense that they're kind of in and out, right? There are different organizations out there. I'm always a big fan of Skills USA, but how does that work into an internship program and making that a something to actually be able to use? Yeah, I definitely have not seen that personally.
And regulators out there, you don't have to wait for somebody to do this. You could set something like this up yourself. If there's a local college or a community college, you'd have the opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, if you're a member of Printing United Alliance, they can and will be very helpful. You just have to ask, right? I think that's one of the things that we forget sometimes as those of us that are members, right? When you're working on something, just ask. They might have a resource or be able to point you or know somebody in a database type thing. So good stuff.
100%.
All right.
I'll say this. In my work with Brilliance, we often get requests and help people out in setting up school departments, but it's really piecemeal. I would say nothing like a program. What I find is people who are either in maybe digital arts or maybe they're in some other sort of manufacturing, they will bring in a small program, and it usually is highly dependent on the person who's there knowing embroidery, for my sake, of course, ahead of time. It seems like if somebody has that interest, it's there, but I haven't seen anything that's like an ongoing program.
Got it.
Right.
All right. My first one from last year was a focus on mindset training for business owners. Mm-hmm. This is hard for me to answer whether it happened or not, because that in 2025 was pretty much my sole focus. So I guess I hope it came true. Maybe I'm just too close to it, so it feels true to me. So I don't know. I feel like there's definitely more of it out there than I've ever seen. But again, it might be those things where that type of thing where, you go buy the new car that you thought nobody else had. And then all of a sudden everybody on the road has that car. So
in the same color. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess I will keep carrying the flag. And then that is still something that I want to continue to see more and more of. But I feel good about it.
I talk to business owners every day, and I will say this: there's a lot more positive attitude, coming out of the COVID years about business and growth and being successful. So, I guess that's a plus for this one.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I'd say in the embroidery space, more people who have the mindset that we have value. When there was a period of time where the people coming in from the craft side didn't see the intrinsic value and weren't pricing probably in the way they should have. I feel like everybody sees this as like there's a grind going on for everybody, no matter who comes into this. Like the concept of nobody does business, they just want to come in and do craft projects in the world is not there anymore. People really do see a value in what they do and are very quick to make the business part of it happen in a way that hasn't been the case before. So, and more planning, which you should be happy about, more business plans than I think I've ever seen. People actually trying to have a vector on their way in as to what they think they're going to do.
Makes me very happy. Yeah. All right, Terry, what was your next one?
Well, speaking of planning, mine was having a promotions calendar with not only what will I promote, but some new concepts to try and monitor. And I'm hopeful. Regulators, what are you seeing out there? I don't necessarily know if people took that up, but I hope so.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything specific either, but again, maybe that's a little too checklisty for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Erich,
looking back at these, a lot of things there's not a very good way to monitor success or not
yeah,
in a lot of this. So
yeah. So we're just hopeful, and we want to hear from you guys. Maybe see something that we didn't. So, all right. Well, I'll just jump into our next one here. My next one was just better eco-friendly solutions across all the decorating methods. I felt like I was channeling my inner Cassie Green, and
right,
um, I, I'll have to be honest with you guys. I feel like we took our hands off the wheel a little bit, and here's why. I feel like 2025 was kind of the year of AI focus and what it was doing in the space. And again, maybe it's just that I'm close to that, and it did feel like I felt like we had a lot of good traction in 2024 around that. Again, this is just my perspective, my lens from what I'm seeing, probably through what's going on here at Two Regular Guys. But I just felt like we need to get back on track with that in 2026. So I'm excited to see where that heads and the eco-friendly solutions. And again, not just from the garment side, but just in general, right? Getting rid of the whole fast fashion idea. And I watched a show the other day about uh, some of that stuff, and just it's not in our world, but out in the broader world, it's a mess.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, 100%. And I think you're right. I don't know that. I don't think we slid backwards. I don't know
Yeah,
if it moved forward, but I think you're right. It's a shiny new object, and it's just kind of like watching the news. I just was thinking yesterday, well, whatever happened with all this protesting in Iran? I haven't heard a word about it in a week. Well, it's
yeah,
still going on. It's just there's new shiny objects out there to talk about. So,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, I think I've seen a lot of there's more stuff going on as far as options. Once again, I'm always going to do embroidery first. Sorry, guys. Here comes me again. There've been new thread options and stuff like that, but I find that the same kind of dichotomy that usually bogs us down is still going on. Yep, there's new green thread options, but there's also new options that are cheaper that have come onto the market that are disruptive, and those cheaper options aren't the green ones. And so it's we always see this kind of fight between green options and base pricing, and that's still going on. I still think people are interested, but I am hearing a little less. I think Aaron might be right. I'm hearing less about what are we doing with stabilizers and packaging. I'm hearing
Yeah,
a little less about that, and more honestly, you're right about AI and also AI's impact with
yeah, yeah.
environment.
Well, and Cassie, so appreciate that Cassie's here, because
Yeah.
if you want to talk that you got to have her in the conversation. But she says, completely agree. There's a lot of sustainable innovation happening in the textiles right now, but the AI impact is a very interesting angle. So yeah, okay, good. So we're all on the same page. But I think that gives us as an industry an opportunity to say, let's keep focused. So there was a lot of, let's keep that progress happening. So
all right.
all right,
Well,
Terry, what's next?
my next one was think outside the box for new employees, and I'd mentioned that 30 years ago I had work at home employees and things like that. Now, from a production standpoint, it's tricky because it's funny. Just recently talking to somebody who had a screen printing job done outside, and lots of errors. And what was the response? Oh, I'm so sorry. Our night shift printed these, and so it's from a production standpoint, it's tricky. But I think the world's changed. I think that flexibility in the workplace is. I mean, I've worked from home for the last, I don't know, 12, 13 years. The only thing that changed with me during COVID was I started ordering my groceries. Otherwise, my life changed not at all. but
Yeah,
anyway, I think that there have been more steps along this route. Now, of course, a lot of folks are said now it's time to come back to the office. And I think there's some kicking and screaming with that, but there's a lot to be said for that interaction you have in an office workspace as well. So
I could see the pros and cons. It's just interesting, right? Like, for an example, I won't name names, but you guys could figure it out. I have a person that's very close to me, maybe my wife, who knows? But she works in an environment where they had to go back to work, but then because there was an inconvenience, there was some challenges at that office. Now they get the opportunity to work at home. It's like, well, then what's the point, right? Like,
right.
Oh, so now it's just when it's convenient for you. I see, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the employee. So anyhow, I'll get on a soapbox and we'll be here all day with that.
All right.
All right. Well, let me hit this is the slot where we kind of open it up to the regulators. And Doug Sobel said, my unicorn hope is to see someone create DTF that would have the softness of dye sub with the color saturation of DTF to be able to do transfers on any type of fabric, no more plastic feeling. I think that's a interesting unicorn. Softness is happening, but dye sub actually becomes part of the fabric. So I don't know if you'll ever get there, but who knows? I think it's great to think about. Craig says some insight into laser engravers. So I'm not sure we clarified that. At least we didn't put any notes in here. So Craig, we'll leave that to you. Simply Embroidery said how to utilize internships. So that's, I think that may actually go back to what you were talking about, Terry, is there. Yep. And then
fill in the blanks kind of thing.
Yeah. And then Ramona McKee said white toner might be the back burner tech, but it's out there and it does a great job for what it does. So, interesting. Any updates there, guys? We're happy to share. Ramona said, I was just saying that last week. Be flexible with your new hires. Paper degrees do not dictate quality. New hires need flexibility. Be aware. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of really, really good people out there that are not always available in from 9 to 5 or, so.
Yeah. And you proved that, years ago. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not new, but we need to realize that again. It sounds
well,
like.
and all the people that say that there's not any good help out there. There's good help out there, but sometimes it comes back to you about being flexible and taking advantage of that good help. So
definitely.
Okay. Well, the next one I had was I hope to see calming down of the DTF industry. And my example was there's a confusing whirlwind of cold peel, hot peel, instant peel, different adhesive powders. Well, you know what? This one I can say has calmed down. I've seen a calming. I've seen much more consistency and the how-to of DTF printing. So, it's still early, but I think that, and Aaron, I'm sure you've seen this as well. People have a much greater understanding of how it all works. And it was brand new a couple of years ago, and it's been a process, but I think people get it now.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I think we're in a good place. There's still more work to do for sure. For those of you going to be out in Long Beach, every other booth will have DTF and some claim that's, I think the real question is go there and then ask them what the next show they're going to be at is. It'll probably be nothing, right? Like,
Right.
If you see them at DAX, okay, there's a different story, right? They actually want to meet and talk to people, not just sell you their wares. Anyhow, sorry. Good stuff, Terry. All right. So my next one was more diversity in the blanks distribution space. Unfortunately, I feel like it's been less. And Terry, I know you're going to talk about this later, so we probably just leave that right there.
Yeah.
If you guys are good with that. All right, Terry, what's next?
Next one I have is and I did this one a few years ago as well. The blue check mark as recognized authority. It would be awesome if you could see a YouTube post and know, does this person really know anything about this?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's still not the case. It's still the Wild West out there. Will be for a while. Everybody with an iPhone is posting how to do things, and I think there's more misinformation today than there was this time last year. So.
Yeah, I think you could very well be right. The TikTok world that we live in, right? Like, just things out of context, all that other stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't know if the blue check mark means, like, okay, you want to be a regulator with a blue check mark, just pay your $14 a month, and you'll be
right, or however much it is. Exactly right.
So, until it's not about the money, until it's actually about real information, I think, like you said, it will be the Wild West. So.
You have
Eric,
to
any
have
thoughts, and then jump into
your... Sure. You have to have a regulating body, I guess, to provide the check mark. The problem is, if you have no trust in the regulating body that provides the check mark, then the check mark means nothing. That's the hard part, because I would love to see more verification, but I think Terry's right. It's the Wild West. And frankly, I still see, and this is not to besmirch anybody who's out there doing this kind of content necessarily. There's a lot of content I see out there in the embroidery space where it's like, just sit with me and we're going to jaw about something maybe related to the space while I'm tertiarily related to an embroidery machine somewhere in the background. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a personality thing, and that's fine. But it's a talk show. That's not what we're looking for. And those folks really honestly have a larger following than people who are doing technical stuff, myself included. Because it's fun. It's fun on a level that's not going to be technical. But that does mean that social media can be a weird space for verification. I'll be honest on that. But I'll go into my items. So I did have an item last year, though. I think, Aaron, you presented this one for me. I wanted to see embroiderers of all stripes just joining in the bigger trade discussions and just expanding our sense of belonging in the larger industry. I'll say, I think, yes, we did that a bit. I'm going to be cautious and say approval. I think there is something there. However, I'll say this. At Printing United, I was happy to just see embroiderers at the table. Like, we saw all these presentations in a larger kind of burgeoning world of like digital fulfillment and print and the kind of tool chain, and embroidery was at least there. It was a part of it, because I've always argued that single head embroidery is one of the earliest versions of like personalization on demand that we had. I think it actually always has been there, but there's still a big gap in there, which I've talked about many times. I'm not going to go back into the gap of fulfillment on embroidery that's still there, but I saw we were there. I think we have a long way to still go to owning our part in the space. But between that, and then I remember very distinctly on press day, Aaron sends me a text like, dude, check this out. There's a graph where it's showing a massive increase in embroidery uptake. And they're talking about this during Media Day at Printing United. And I'm like, that got me. I was like, awesome. That's great. At the same time, I still feel like education for embroidery wasn't quite as big there. And I felt a lot of the times like, oh, there aren't that many people who are industry leaders in embroidery who are part of those big conversations. But there was more. We were at the table. We didn't just get kind of sidelined as, oh yeah, we're doing all this awesome digital print stuff and fulfillment. And there's the thread guys are somewhere back here too. We were there. We were part of that conversation, and the desire to kind of put us in there was good. So I think, like, yes, we're going there. Are we all the way there yet? No. Are we kind of owning our space there or bringing our leadership there? Not quite yet, but definitely at the table, and not an also ran.
Cool.
Baby steps from the movie Bob.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. So there we go. That was 2025, like wins, losses, something in between, I think, so
yeah.
I mean, 13 years on, we're getting okay at this. So, who knows what 10 years from now is going to look like. We might have it all down. No, just kidding. All right. Well, 2026, let's dive in. Terry, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. My first one is I hope to see a consolidation slowdown. Every time we go to a trade show, every time we have a new guest on Two Regular Guys, we hear about a company that's been gobbled up by another company. I'm talking to industry folks going to trade shows at the airport, and hey, we just announced that we just merged with so-and-so. And here's my example outside the industry. And Aaron, this comes from our days at US Screen.
Yeah.
We always used to fly America West Airlines. America West Airlines was the best.
Awesome.
They were awesome.
Yep.
And then American West bought US Air and took their name, US Air. and the quality immediately went down. The quality of travel went down. And then US Air bought American Airlines and took their name. So American Airlines, way back when, was American West. And the quality of travel went down again. And, I think it's, you feel like you need a scorecard. I'm going to walk around the show and see whose names are meshed together again, and poorly meshed together again. and, and here's my complaint, I guess. The garment and product decoration industry has always been this personal one-on-one type of interaction, and I think right now we're on track to lose that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when it's more about, VC money than it is about the service, I think that brings some big challenges, right? And as the people in the industry, as decorators, right, the power that we have is voting with our wallets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
in a sense, right? Like I've always for let me rephrase that. Not always, for a very long time, one of the most important things I think I've ever shared in some of my seminars is, if your only relationship with your key vendor is your login for their website, you're going to have problems, right? And so
Yep.
when you start having these things happen, and then the new layers, and like, where's the service going to come from? So yeah, I think that's a good one, Terry. I agree. I mean, I understand it, right? In challenging economic times, there's opportunities, but boy, keep your focus on the service. And I think your America West analogy was perfect, because you're exactly right. I mean, it was amazing. It was awesome. And then it just kept getting worse the more consolidation happened.
Real quick, and I don't want to belabor because I know we have a long way to go, but I had a customer friend call yesterday just to share with me his year over year sales and how excited he was about it. You're never going to call XYZ-XYZ Corporation and have that conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Eric, I don't want to not leave a space for you. So just
honestly, I there's nothing else to say aside from I think competition's good. I think it's always good to see different options out there, and so I love that things are getting strengthened by some of this. There are some of the things that were, not going well, and sometimes this consolidation can strengthen weak points. That can happen. But you're right. We hear so much of it that it's hard not to get a tickle of like, hey, are we moving to a point where we have like two vendors and that's it, and we have no other options? Because it used to be that you could hunt for other options when things failed, or that there were different types of offerings. Because as this also happens, they consolidate the product lines, and it just shortens up the number of options we have for what clients want, and with clients being more picky.
Yeah, vendors out there, this is also an opportunity. So
yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Good point. It does breed opportunity. So DJ checking in saying good morning, fellas. I'm assuming DJ
Kev
reading. Sorry if I got your name wrong. I apologize. But
DJ Kev is often on my show, so thank you for showing up. Let's see DJ Kev here. He's awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to get into mine here then. So my hope for 2026 is that we focus our businesses on being strength led. So what I mean by that is, I see a lot of business owners who are focused on improving their weaknesses, the comparison trap. They're doing this. I need to figure out how to do better and be like them. And then I guess the worst trap of all that falls under this whole umbrella is we try to be all things to everyone, right? Like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I know. Oh, let me try this. And I'm going to be just serviceable at this, right? And you're not good at anything. And so I want to see owners kind of building their business, the role that their business and the people inside of their business play, even their schedules around offering what they're good at, not what the industry says they should do. I'm going to use air quotes. We need to not should on ourselves. And so, I just, I guess I've kind of grown tiresome of seeing the exhausted business owners out there because they're trying to build a business that fights against who they are. And that comparison trap just really pushes owners to focus on the gaps, the weaknesses, and what they think they should do based on somebody else. And so I guess to get there, right, it really just becomes about asking different questions instead of saying, what am I bad at? How can I fix it? The better question to me might be, what am I naturally good at, and how do I build around? So let me just give you an example here real quick, and then you guys can tell me your thoughts on this. But somebody who's highly relational, right, that really is a people person, Terry. If you love that connection, right, you love the consulting, you love the opportunity for relationships, you love the opportunity for that call that shows up when somebody's excited about what they did, right, like you just were talking about, Terry. But then you compare yourself to somebody who's, I'm going to use air quotes again, successful selling online, and you start focusing on transactions instead. Do you think that's really going to be successful? I think that ultimately we will self-sabotage that business no matter how initially successful it is. And so if you focus on the strengths and build a business that you love, that's kind of been my statement for folks. And, my belief is that we do that through understanding what our SVPs are, our strengths, values, and passions. So thoughts on that from you two fine fellows?
You want to go first, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to things that we've been teaching for years and talking about on the show. It's the niche marketing and the niche that you start from. It's me telling people to quit apologizing for what embroidery doesn't do and start selling embroidery on what it does do. In different spheres of what we do, both creative and business, it's still the same argument. It's, hey, you have a strength. It's a unique strength. You have a unique value proposition. Push that. I'm not saying that you don't have to work on your weaknesses. You do. If you have very obvious cracks in your foundation, then you got to work on that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
There's so many times where you're right. People are trying to be a different business than they are, or they're putting themselves in a market, in a vertical, or at a level that they're not, and then trying to market from that position, and it doesn't work. You can't be somebody else and then start from that deficit and then expect that to work out. Like, it's just you're putting yourself somewhere you often don't belong, really.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, that Me Too marketing drives me nuts as well. We're changing everything because XYZ company is now offering this, so therefore now we do that.
Like pricing by zip code, right? I always love that one where you get the five people nearest you and average their pricing and drop it by 5%, and that's your pricing strategy. It's the same. Right. It's the same argument always. If we do what everybody else does, we can't expect any results that they're not getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and this is relevant even to managing your business, because I remember because I've run a lot of production floors, and I always tried to focus on the successful employees, because a lot of people focus on the troubled employees, and all the other employees see that and think, well, they're getting all the attention, they're getting all, it's like your kids. Dad focuses on this kid that's having trouble, and what about us? We come to work every day. We clock in on time. I've had one sick day in 5 years, kind of thing.
Yeah,
you got to focus on those folks, and then everybody else wants to get on board and get that attention as well. So
yep. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, Terry. And I guess what I will say, though, that makes me very hopeful when I talk about this is I do know that people see that, right? Ramona in the comments here said, "Yep, all things to everyone. I need to stop that. I can't afford the out of pocket to start up a new business for someone." And then they walk away. I'm going to stay in my lane in 2026. I just started a program. We're just coming towards the end of our first week of the accelerator program that you guys heard me talk about at the end of 2025. And there's 13 business owners in there that, are trying to focus on their strengths and build a business around what they want to do. I actually, I just had to share this, you guys, because, I figured, okay, it's a 12-week program. Let's give them some time to get in this and kind of get there. And then, let's see what they're thinking. But somebody actually said this. She said, the accelerator helped me to throw away the overwhelming to-do list and replace it with a clear roadmap and 3 to 5 achievable actions each day that are already creating momentum.
That's good.
Wow.
So, it works, right? Like, I guess I just wanted to share that to let you guys know that it works. Focus on
on
what
top
you're
of that,
good
I
at.
like this comment from DJ Kev. He's iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I think that's, you have to reinforce the things you want, and then also surround yourself with people who are doing the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's important too.
And then, Eric, before you jump in,
sure.
I just want to get Doug's comment up there. He says, I'm ordering more directly from manufacturers instead of distributors, kind of talking to Terry's first point there. So again, that's our power, right? We get to make those decisions who we order from, and we'll see what happens. So, all right, Eric, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. My big thing for this next year is I would like to see some strengthening and refinement in the embroidery world after we've seen a lot of democratization this year. More than any year, we saw the bar to entry drop precipitously. I mean, I'm all for democratization, but we're seeing a ton of equipment coming in at much lower prices than it used to be, meaning that I'm also seeing a wave of used equipment right on the back end of that. And that's usually what happens when there's this kind of democratization, and a bunch of embroiderers who are in kind of like quick fail or never launch situations on the back end of the wave. Because the bar to entry is low, they buy into equipment that they really don't know how to run, that they didn't plan for, and then they quick fail out. They're selling it right from under them, trying to get the price they paid in, which never happens. And then people who literally have not launched, they've got a machine that's sitting and is now is now seized, sitting in a corner somewhere and filthy because it has not been touched or maintained for the entirety of the year. And I think that we need a little more structure and thought to help new embroiderers enter the industry with more preparation. I'm hoping that's going to kind of happen more this year. We have to intelligently evaluate how the disruption affects current markets. A lot of people are finding they're trying to go out with their truthfully better quality, better kind of origin equipment, and selling that used equipment into a market that now has all of this cheap new equipment on it, and they're finding they cannot get the prices they're used to in the used market they had. So it's becoming harder to upgrade from your old equipment a little bit if you're used to selling directly to other users. And we're going to have to see what happens with servicers and vendors, like technicians and vendors, and what that means, especially because some of these folks who are disrupting the equipment space, they're also selling threads, to the point that I literally saw somebody, and I will not mention brands on this, they got into one of these new machines that's a commercial level machine and operating quite well, but they literally were in operation already, said, so I've been using X brand thread, which is the house brand that's being sold by the machine manufacturer. Can I use thread from somewhere else? And I thought my eyes would fall out of my head. I shook my head so hard I had to close my eyes, keep moving. But suffice it to say, I thought I was going to freak out. I'm like, wow, this is like hitting the ground running with zero education and a company store mindset. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. That is disruption we have not really seen. Because I'm the first person to say a lot of people have the software they have because it came with the machine as a package. They don't know anything about it. Now to see people doing that with thread and supplies and stabilizers blew me away. So we had to look at that and go, okay, what's going on here? And then something you're going to hear from all of us over and over, education. I'll just hammer on that. I just wrote it that way in the outline. So I'm like, you're going to hear me say it repeatedly and all of us say it. Man, do we ever need to make sure that new folks who are entering the industry get educated, and hopefully before they put down the money on these machines, even the cheaper ones. I would really like to see us a little more intelligent about what happens when an industry's bar to entry drops like this. It's happened in other times before in other places. I mean, digitizing was like that too. My first digitizing software costs us like $16,000. The same software is a tenth of that right now. That's the kind of stuff that does happen in industry, but then it means you have to look at that and say, okay, what changed? What can we do? What positions are different? And also, is there a way to make this a little smarter? Because I don't love seeing people who are like, man, embroidery sucks. I hate it. I bought this thing. It should have been easy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feed it garbage information, and out comes garbage embroidery, and I don't know anything about it, but it's obviously the problem, not me. And I'm like, well, that comes from, low bar to entry and zero education, means you're going to fail out. And honestly, it doesn't, as much as it's lovely to have a bunch of cheap machines out there for people who know what they're doing. That's not the way I want to do it. I don't want to do that on the back of new business owners suffering,
Yeah.
Well, A couple of thoughts on that. When you say that about can I use different thread, Aaron, back in the U.S. Screen days when we were doing screen printing classes there, that's why Union Ink gave us all the free ink we wanted. That's why Hanes gave us skids of shirts, all that we wanted for free, because all those people knew that that those folks were going to go home and order exactly what they used in the class. And as to the flood of equipment, things like that on the used marketplace, I think a lot of that too is so many businesses changed how they were doing business during COVID.
That's true.
And coming out of it kept those changes. I think that's where a lot of this excess equipment came from as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh yeah.
And then DJ Kev says, I agree with Eric. There's a major disruption. Time is people's main issue. They don't learn how. They just want success in a short period, right? Yeah, the instant gratification. Yeah. And unfortunately, most of the time that comes back to bite you. And like you said, you're going to end up with a bunch of used equipment out there.
So. There's a ton of people who, quite frankly, need to be just outsourcing to people who want to do the work, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot more people who are jumping into production. It feels like an earlier age to some degree. It's like I've seen that these bars drop. This is the lowest I think it's dropped in a long time. But at the same time, it's like I've seen this story before, and this is where a bunch of people start becoming distributors eventually. But then when they do, they offload a bunch of equipment. And it gets kind of, like I said, the space gets really churned up in the meantime.
And I know we're running short on time, but I remember, when at US Screen, we had screen printing classes and we had DTG classes. The screen printing classes, I'd start talking about business, marketing, pricing, and people were just feverishly taking notes. When we started doing DTG classes, because I think it's such an easy thing to get into, as soon as I would start talking about business and marketing and pricing, out would come people's phones, and they'd be, they're on Facebook or whatever while we're talking about it, because these machines are magic. All you have to do is push a button, and people will hand you money. So I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'm up, right?
You're up, sir. Yep.
All right. I'd like to see this year an appreciation of screen printing. And so, yes, DTF transfers are easier. But now everybody and his brother is offering DTF transfers. Screen printing offers lots and lots of decoration options: puff inks, gels, suedes, multimedia, foil. You can do all these different things. So the more DTF decorators entering the marketplace, the more your end customers are going to crave something new. And I'm not saying come to my class in Chicago in March, but and you don't have to become a screen printer, but keep in mind, there are lots of screen printers out there that offer the service of printing for you. And your customers are going to start saying, well, yeah, I can get that from everybody, but can you get this?
Can you get this?
Appreciation of screen printing.
Yep. And I will also preface, though, Terry, you said there's lots of screen printers out there. Just remember Terry's other line. There's lots of screen printers out there, not a lot of good screen printers. So do a little homework before you start outsourcing. But yes, and Terry could point you to the right people. So just go to his class and all things will be good. I love it. That's a good point, Terry. I think I was actually having a conversation yesterday with somebody about that very fact, right? There's just everybody, and his brother is offering it. And unfortunately, also like screen printing, there's a lot of people offering DTF. There's not a lot of people that are good at it.
100%.
Some of the half toning stuff I've seen out there, things like that. I'm like, oh boy, that's ended up on somebody's shirt. Okay.
Yeah, that art prep means a lot more than you think it does.
Yeah. All right. Eric, anything before I jump into mine?
Nope. I'm hoping for that to happen kind of to all of our media. Because I think that's the same thing with embroidery. I see people doing these like pressed, like faux embroidery treatments with the plasticky flex embroidery stuff. It's cool. It's another new treatment, but I know if I wanted embroidery and somebody gave me a plastic transfer, I'd probably be a little grumpy. There's room for all of it. It just depends on what folks want. Like you guys have said for the DTG all the way back then. Yeah, it's not going to kill screen printing off. New technologies, as they become democratized and get out into the market, they get popular. It doesn't mean that it kills the old ones.
For sure. All right. I see a plenty of bonus time in our futures, guys. So
we'll see how we get.
A smidge here, but all right. My next one is real number literacy for decorators. I think I'm just still a little bit in awe of how many business owners I run across who don't know how much it costs them to be in business. And I'm not trying to like call anybody out or make anybody feel bad if you're in that camp that you really don't know how much it costs you to just open your doors each day. The reason why I'm so passionate about it is that brings a huge challenge, not only to you as the decorator, but really to our industry as a whole, right? We talk a lot about pricing and the pricing pressure and all that stuff. If you don't know how much it costs you to be in business, how do you set your pricing? Like that's the big question, and unfortunately, all too often, what you notice with folks that are in this camp of, I don't really know my numbers, is they're just waiting to go out of business, but they won't know it until it's too late. Right. And then the sunk cost fallacy starts showing up, and they're deeply in debt, and they've ruined a lot of other areas of their lives too. And, so just, I think, look to some other places. Like we've had great examples just in my recent memory here on Two Regular Guys of people running their business from a place of strength because they know their numbers, right? Like our conversation with Dan Frank was, I know it was about something else, but you really got this sense that he was driving that because they knew what their numbers were, right? He was giving us percentages, and it was on the fly. When I first started talking to him about that, the number was different than when we actually hit the show that day, right? Things were evolving, but he made a point to really know those things because that's how they made their pricing decisions, their partnership decisions, things like that. We had Brad Pingali on at, again, talking about automation, but there was also a lot of knowledge in there about knowing our numbers. Nick, and I'm not even going to try his last name because I love to butcher names, but Nick would talk to us about smarter profit strategies for apparel decorators, right? Like profit's not a dirty word. And so I what I'd love to see is businesses really start pricing from clarity instead of fear. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to get the order right. Like you said, Eric, the average of the people in the zip code and go less. Or my favorite example is, I mean, every day on every type of Facebook forum you can go into, there is somebody asking, how much would you charge for this? Like, as market research, maybe, but why waste your time? Know what your numbers are, and then price based on the value that you provide your customers, not on the race to the bottom, right? And that all starts with kind of this knowing your numbers. In fact, to be honest with you, that's fundamental number 7 of the 13. That's a full fundamental is the numbers game. And so not only you've got the book here, I actually have a good friend, Becky Kotzer, who's going to be coming out with a program called Purpose and Profit, where we're kind of melding together some of this stuff. And so just stay tuned. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. But yeah, that's my soapbox here for 2026.
I have a real life this week example.
Cool.
Kim was had somebody ask her for a multimedia sweatshirt for a birthday party, individualized names, rhinestones, the whole deal, and she quoted it at $35. The person came back and said, "Well, I can buy the same thing at Amazon for $19.95, but they have lots and lots of returns of that product." And she's like, "Well, exactly. It's $35."
Yeah.
So
I was about to say, after you when you described it, I was like, $35? Are you sure? 35?
Yeah. But the reality is, right, like people like him, that's what we need, right? Somebody that knows their value, and they're going to say $35 is my price. Yes, unfortunately, most decorators don't know their costs involved in that, and they're going to go, well, okay, then $19.95 is fine. And they may put out a good product, but how long can you do that, right? If you're losing money every time you do an order, how long can you keep that up?
If somebody says you sharpen your pencil on the phone, hang up.
I'm sorry, I have to go sharpen my pencil.
Yeah.
And never pick it up. All right. Cool. Thank you guys for letting me share that.
Sure.
Eric, what about you? What's your next one here?
I'm going to feel like I'm on the topic a little bit here because I want to see people reinforce the value proposition for digitizers. Yes, I know this is inside baseball for embroidery digitizers, and it's easy for me to say as somebody who was a digitizer for most of his career. But I cannot tell you in the social spaces how much I see people complaining about getting low value work or a digitizer won't get back to them or they don't understand what I'm doing. And then invariably you find out they're on Fiverr, they're on Etsy, they're paying nothing. They're paying nothing for the service. And I'm like, you paid $5 for somebody to do your entire preparation of your art and you're expecting them to come back and do several edits and work with you and be your creative partner. And I'm like, yeah, that's just not happening for $5, not anywhere in the world. And especially because you're doing this, if you're paying commodity prices, you're probably going to get commodity work. It's just what it is. And then half of the time, if you drill down and try and help somebody out, you find out that they didn't provide the digitizer any information about the project, or at least very low levels of information, just expected that all to be on the digitizer's end. So don't get me wrong. It's just what it is. Yeah, and this is Ramona said this is absolutely what it is. It's $5 $5 cost for a 1 hour turnaround. And I'm like, that's just not, it's not reasonable. And especially if you are doing that, you're probably doing it overseas, and to think about quick turnarounds and having that kind of communication is just not likely. Doesn't mean you can't use those digitizers, doesn't mean you get what you get from a commodity price. It's just what it is. But I do want to also educate people and say, hey, I also want to educate digitizers who are high value digitizers who do work with people creatively, how to market the value, how to extract that information from people that they need to get things right, and how to provide something that goes beyond that commodity so that we do have a really clear expectation that, hey, if you work with somebody and pay more, yes, there actually is a difference. And it also means that, hey, if you are somebody trying to process this from being a high value digitizer, it does mean you can't run in, use automated tools and spit out cheap work, because you are part of the commodity problem at that point. So this is a two-way street. I would like to see in this year that digitizers who are able to provide higher value are marketing that value and helping with that education, but also that more embroiderers understand this as the process that it is, where they know what it takes. I think luckily I'm seeing more embroiderers getting the fallacy of why a lot of people get into digitizing. They're like, I'm tired of paying this guy that $5. I'm going to learn how to do it myself. Can't wait for you to jump in and find out how hard it is, so that you now value the process yourself and no longer see it as an automated process. Once you've butt your head against it a few times, you'll think differently about what you're spending on it. But I do want to be able to educate all around that. And I do want to see more people honestly providing that value and making the argument for why it matters. The same way it matters for art prep. And I know that's hard the same way, but we just talked about that with DTF. Great DTF really has a massive component about that, is the art prep and someone understanding the particular project, because it's on colors, it's on garments, it's specific to the project. If you're going to do the best version of that thing, and the same thing's true of digitizing, I just want to get that value out in the open and have more people have that conversation.
For sure. All right. Good stuff. I agree.
I always tell people in my screen printing classes, customers will pay a premium for quality work. It's the same here, but as you said, Eric, you've got to communicate that here's why you need to buy this from me.
Yeah, you just have to communicate the value. And I think the other thing is to also just kind of reiterate to everybody, just like we always say, Terry says, there's a lot of screen printers, but not a lot of good ones. You want to know how you get a reputation for being a good screen printer and embroiderer? It's producing good work that's easy to show. It's having the right samples. It's having work out in the world. And if you use cheap commodity prep all the time, you get back what you get back. And that is your business card. That is your doormat. That is your shingle that you're hanging out saying, I'm the person who produces this kind of work. Worth it for you. Worth it for you too, to think this is what you are putting out in the world.
What I heard was do good work, deliver on time.
I was going to say, I really thought that was all that you said in your screen printing classes. So I learned something new today.
All day.
I'm totally kidding, you guys.
Thanks for coming.
All right, Terry, let's jump to your next one here.
Okay. Let's talk about education again.
Shocking.
I think
we're going to talk about education.
I think all the trade shows need to refocus on education. And I'll start with, I know it's a business, but I'm feeling that new ownership, the new management of late, it it really feels like going to shows. It's all about turning a buck. And yes, I know, I'll repeat it. It's a business, but it feels like we're losing track of, as my mother would say, who brought us to the dance. When I started out, I would go to trade shows, religiously, and 90% of the reason I went to a trade show when I first started out was to go to the education,
Yeah.
and that was why I invested my money and my time in going. And now when I see things like charging admission, I'm cool with charging admission for the education, perfectly fine. But charging admission to walk into the show, uh, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I just found this out like 2 days ago. Um, Impressions Expo in Long Beach, and sorry, Impressions Expo, but if you just show up there, it's $99 to get in. Eh, Have we lost track of what these shows are about? And I know vendors don't like it. I just would love to see a refocus on offering something of value to the folks that come to these trade shows. So here's my field of dreams, very loose reference: more and better education, and they will come.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm just gonna, because I've been known to get myself in trouble in the past for this very topic. So I'm just gonna say I agree with Terry wholeheartedly, more than 100%. How about that?
Yep. We'll just say this is one of those things where, rather than stick my entire size 16 shoe right in my mouth, there's a lot of things that have been said behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, around and next to the scenes. We've been campaigning on this for a while. It's very much like when decorators start having trouble in their businesses, and the first thing they do is go, I'm going to slash my marketing budget. I'm spending too much money on that. And you're like, yeah, that's probably going to be a problem. I think your face is getting spited the wrong direction there, bud. You're cutting off your nose. So
that sales rep is making too much commission. We need to cut that back.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe unintended consequences to reducing the budget for certain things that you have not seen yet. Just because you haven't seen them yet doesn't mean you won't eventually.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. Well, we'll keep moving now. I think it's probably because we take the 2-week layoff for the holidays, and then the fact that this is a big show and a lot of things we want to cover. But we have always gone into bonus time for the last 5 years at least. So we're right on track, but let's see if we can kind of run this to the end here. All right, my next one, you guys, and this is definitely just a personal, hey, we're in the moment, but I would love to see more involvement in the Reggies. And I know that this seems self-serving at first glance, but the reality of it is our world gets more and more disconnected the more connected we are to our phones and computers and stuff like that. And, I guess I've always been proud of the fact that it feels like the Reggies are a way to keep the industry connected to real people. That's why we've always tried to make as big of a deal out of the nomination show as we do the awards show, because it's one thing to, know what's going on out there in the world, but to actually get to hear the names and then hopefully be inclined to go out and connect with that person directly. I think that's what I always felt made the Reggie special, keeping the industry connected to real people. We're just the facilitators. So I just want to make sure that in 2026, you guys, anybody that's listening, podcast or otherwise, tell your friends, break my technology, break the facilitation method, right? Like, let's get so many freaking votes that I got to figure out a way or pay extra money or whatever the case may be. I'm all good with that, right? So that's what we want to do and before I just go, okay, it's all your guys' fault, I'm going to take full responsibility for this. I put the Reggies on cruise control a little bit, kind of thought that if it wasn't broken, don't fix it, and lots of other things going on. So, I will do my part in this as well. And we will do our part as the Two Regular Guys group here. And so we're already talking, looking, we're going to revamp, improve, and maybe even bring some new voices into the room here. So Stay tuned for more of that. But, we're going to do our part. Regulators, I'm looking forward to you guys continuing to step up. I know the people that are probably here live participated, but let's make sure that it gets out there to a wider audience for sure. So.
When we did our end of year autopsy on on 2025 and the two regular guys, this was probably our biggest conversation. So 100% agree, and I love the idea about bringing in some new voices and look for new and improved in the coming year. We'll certainly be able to report yay or nay on this one next year.
Yeah, for sure. No problem there. Okay, Eric, before you get to your final one here, we do still want to hear from you guys, the regulators. Is there anything specific that maybe we haven't covered or other things that you would like to see in 2026? Let's start getting those in the comments while Eric shares his last one here. So, Eric, the floor is yours.
And mine is right on the same kind of topic. Once again, I want to just see us continuing to seek and develop new relationships and enhancing new voices. I think it is really easy for those of us who have been in the business for a while to kind of cruise on the people we know. But as we see, there's a lot of churn. There are people coming and going. And I would like to make sure that across markets, across disciplines, across kind of generations of decorators, that we're facilitating these relationships and encouraging that kind of networking and across markets. I really want to see that we're doing that actively in this next coming year. And also as part of that, enhancing new voices, encouraging new voices to come to the forefront and be part of this conversation. There was a period of time where, our voices weren't as important as they are now, certainly, or as we might think they are some days.
I was going to say, mine still isn't, but that's okay.
Mine still, I don't feel any different than I did.
Got a microphone,
yeah, for sure. I think that's something I've told a lot of people is I still feel like the 19-year-old who was fighting with the sales department to explain why it was important to care about stuff that we're doing. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that I want to see us all personally and professionally make an effort to reach across the aisle, whether that's talking to people of other disciplines, talking to new people who we really are not in the same spaces, or just making sure that we are giving a hand up to people who are trying to come into the space. And with that same caveat of saying, I'd like to see that be intelligent with education and working with that, kind of actively this year, just saying, hey, let's make sure we're connecting. Let's make sure that we're going out there. There's a lot of people out there who are speaking, and I'd like to see them get there, get to the point where they're part of the conversation.
Yep. Love it. Terry,
Yeah,
thoughts
I
on
like
that?
that. Yeah.
Terry, any additional thoughts on that one?
Well, just that I agree. How's that?
Yep. Okay. Ramona said, we're open for
I'm in there.
for voices, right? Like, I think some of the challenge is, right, the voices we need are people that are looking to actually share, not sell. And so, we're kind of very picky about that. We'll give people a platform to share once they've provided value first. So how about that?
No, I think that's also true. Everybody reach out. Reach out if you want to be part of something. That's just how it is. It also takes all of us to reach out. But, that's I'd love to give everybody a hand up, but I definitely want to see you reach for it. I would like to because I'll say that's something I've heard a lot of is like, why aren't we getting more classes? And when and I'll say this too, and I'm not going to say what show I was at. I was at a show where I said, hey, why are we not seeing more embroidery classes? And they said, oh, we offered all of the people, like all the rest of these classes are being supported by the vendors, but the embroidery vendors didn't support any classes. So, hey, vendors, if you want more people getting educated and coming to your booths and all the print people are paying for on floor classes or they're paying for activations, embroidery people are desperately looking for you to lead them to. So that's an opportunity, vendors of equipment and supplies. That's an opportunity for you. That is not something that costs you. That is marketing. It's the same thing we talked about earlier. Stop cutting your marketing budget, right? When people are looking for you. It's not good for you. And it would be much better for the community if you join in.
Definitely. All right, regulators, this is your last chance. Going once, going twice, going gone in a moment here. But what things would you like to see in 2026? If you are listening to the podcast version of this, feel free to reach out to us. We'll add it to our notes and we'll see what happens, right? Like sometimes you guys, the things that we want, we need to put them out there just to get the ball rolling, right? And so, I think that's what I love about this opportunity is, and do all these things come to fruition? No, but does it spark ideas and give people an opportunity? I mean, heck, I feel like I could just go and create a business at some point, just going back through all the old ones and going, what about this? What about this? Right. We'll do the blue check mark and just charge the $15. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. So anyhow. All right. Well, shall we talk about what we've got coming up here? 2026. It's here. Terry's Big Book of Travel is probably ready to go. Potentially.
It is right over here. All right. All right. I'll be in the Equipment Hub booth at Impressions Expo in Long Beach, unless they tell me I can't come now. January 22nd through 25th. Hey, and if you do want to become a screen printer, my first complete screen printing business course for the year will be at Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago. That is March 21st and 22nd. You can sign up for that at atlasscreensupply.com, and all of my upcoming events are at terrycombs.com. Aaron, how about you?
Yeah, I already kind of mentioned the program, the Business Builder Accelerator program. So just again, shouting out to them. They're doing the real work to build that. And just I am super excited to work with people on their unique strengths, values, and passions, what I call the SVPs. And watching that clarity come together has just been an incredible opportunity for me and just fills me up. And so if you're interested in that same kind of clarity, just want to get that kick started and understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about here, I do offer a free SVP assessment. It's just one of those things where it's kind of my mission. So I've left it free. I even talked about making it a paid opportunity, but I really had a kind of come to Jesus moment going, wait a second, this is my purpose. Why am I charging for it? So for right now, we're going to keep it as is. So go to osg.link/SVP and you can get signed up for that. Tomorrow, Small Business Saturdays episode happening at noon Central Time. It'll be a discussion about how to identify your business's real challenge that will then start unlocking momentum for you. So if you'll tune in to our YouTube channel over at liveosg.com, and you can check that out. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe, smash the like button, all the things that the kids say. But Small Business Saturday has been a really great outlet for me to just talk about lots of topics and tips and mindset and things like that. And so I think it's worth a subscribe and worth sharing with some of your other business owner friends. You talked about trade shows. We've got DAX Kansas City coming up February 20th and 21st at the KCI Expo Center, which is right near the airport there in Kansas City. And I will be teaching 2 classes and facilitating one more. So the class I'll be facilitating is called DTF 101, From File to Finished Print, What Actually Matters. And it's a discussion that I'm going to be facilitating with Rob Super and Sean Stewart, where we will walk through the real world DTF workflow from artwork and software decisions to film, ink, color, application, and really highlight where a lot of problems come from that we've seen and how successful shops reduce their reprints, reduce wasted time and frustration. So that's happening on Saturday, February 21st at 8:30 in the morning. Rewinding one day to February 20th at 10:30, I'm going to be talking about the myth of everyone is my customer. I'm putting that in air quotes there. I want to share a clear vision of who you serve and how to determine that. And then so you can be attracting more of the right customers. So that'll happen. And then immediately after that, you can just stay right in that same classroom, sign up for both. And February 20th at noon, we'll be talking about bye-bye burnout. It's fun to say, so I'm just going to keep saying that. I'll be sharing how to prevent burnout before it starts and then start creating sustainable habits that keep your creativity and business thriving. So if you want to check that out, go to daxshow.com, no S at the end, DAXSHOW.com to register. And I think the early bird prices are still in effect for the classes. So check that out. And then the very next week after DAX there, I will be off to Las Vegas for the International Personalization Expo. Some of us call it the APA show. and it's happening February 24th through the 27th at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you go to personalizationpros.org, you can get all the information. And there I get to moderate a panel called Brand, Business, and Growth, Strengthening B2B and B2C Relationships. And I'm just a moderator, and I get to chat with a bunch of really awesome people, and Samita Patel of Homebound Custom Decor, Kurt Himes of Himes Award, and Josh Perry of Perry Designs. And I'm just going to be grilling them as deeply as I can about how they position their brand for impact, identify and engaging their ideal customers, and then how do they balance their marketing efforts with operational readiness and all things in between. So I'm really looking forward to that, being a moderator for that panel. What about you, Eric?
Well, today I'm actually going to have the first take up of the year. So join me this afternoon for episode 240. We're taking a second swing at episode 240, same episode number from last year, but massive technical difficulties stopped me from getting that out. But this time we're going to do a different take. It's going to be called Developing as a Digitizer from Mindset to Mastery. Whether you've just decided to level up and dig into digitizing, you're looking to develop kind of artistically or technically, there's a few top tips and practices that are sure to see you improve quickly and more consistently. We're going to talk about developing stitch level understanding, encouraging observation, and seeking a more scientific process. So we're going to talk about some tactics and get you helped with the embroidery digitizing process, no matter your stage of development. And check that out at erichcampbell.com at the Take Up tab at the top. And we'll be live today at 2:30 Mountain, 4:30 Eastern. So join in, share your insights, and I'd love to see you there. Also, going to be at Impressions Expo a little too soon for my liking. We'll be at Impressions Expo. So if you guys are going to be out there and you haven't signed up yet, I'd love to see you sign up for the Technique Toolkit. I'll be back with Joe Kramer, Justin Armenta, and Katie Woodman for the 4-in-1 workshop all about creating looks for the B2B commercial industry that'll rival retail and move beyond commodity work, something we talked about a lot today. I will go ahead and throw links in the comments for you to register, and also want to make sure you know you can use the code SPEAK210. Speak210 will get you 20% off a full conference pass. So if you're still looking to go, head to this link. I will throw that in the comments shortly, and you go ahead and use that code SPEAK210 to get that 20% off if you're getting a full conference pass. If you do, I will also be a part of a big kind of round robin, table to table, speed dating version of talking directly to the experts, something new we're doing this year. And I'd really love to see you guys get there. If you're at that, it'll be all of the folks from Technique Toolkit will be there answering questions and letting you talk to them directly for the entire session. Something new that we're trying out. Hopefully that's something that'll take off. I'd like to see more of that direct kind of conversation. And I will also be doing a short course on a very short, simple course, a small shop course, not a large workshop, just on digitizing for caps. So a small session on that, something that got added very late in the game, but simple, to the point, digitizing for caps and dealing with those solutions. I'll be there for all of those. So if you get that full conference pass, you can go see any of those or jump in on any one of those sessions. I'd love to see you there.
Yep. Awesome.
Like a lot of, that's not all.
Yeah, I know.
But wait, there's more.
They did. That's how it got presented to me too, because I didn't know I was doing the caps class till pretty late in the game. I'm going to tell you honestly. So, folks, if you haven't seen your downloads for that yet, that's why. you'll be seeing that very shortly. Nice. But yeah, it's a perennial topic, folks.
There you go. All right. Well, I know we promised you guys the secret sauce at the beginning, but we are deep into bonus time here. So, here's what we're going to do. This is an opportunity for you guys, actually. Go over to our YouTube channel, and I actually am pushing buttons, Eric, so you can, I'm done. Hands off now.
I'll let you do it.
But go over to our YouTube channel there at 2 Regular Guys, the number 2 Regular Guys. And yeah, so this expanding the eye for embroidery, you will see this very soon, whether that is next week, but just click on it there, and then you can go to the playlist, and you can see there's 109 secret sauce videos in there right now. So wow. Great stuff, about 3 to 10 to 15 minute little snippets of amazing secret sauce from myself, Terry, Eric, Dane. We're going to be looking for some other voices in this area as well this year. So if you've got a secret sauce tip you'd like to share with the regulators somewhere along the way, please reach out to us at info@2regularguys.com. So, all right, guys. Well, great show. You guys appreciate this conversation so much. And also want to thank all of the regulators who participated in the comments here and shared some of their perspectives and thoughts. Really appreciate that happening today. And yeah, great show, you guys.
All right. And as always, thanks to our show producer, Eric Campbell, for coming on and joining us and pushing all the buttons at the same time.
Yeah.
Almost all the buttons. Eric got a couple of them.
I got one button in there. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Good to see you guys. Happy New Year to both of you. Next week, you guys, we've got Angie Meese coming back as a guest. As Eric just said, only a couple of weeks until Impressions. I don't mean to make your heart skip a beat there, but just a couple of weeks until Impressions Expo in Long Beach. So Angie's going to be sharing beyond the booth, how to tackle trade shows like a pro, and just share her experience of being at trade shows as an attendee, and now she's had some opportunities as an exhibitor. So going to give us great insight from somebody who's in it and in the trenches each and every day. So
nice. Looking forward to that. So until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Eric Campbell. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Two Regular Guys.